was a credit card. So simple, right? Piece of plastic. But for me, it was my entire world. When we got married, he insisted we have joint accounts. He said it was a sign of our unity, our partnership. My money is your money, he'd say. We're a team. It sounded so romantic, so secure. The reality was a bit different. I worked part-time, but my paycheck went directly into our joint account. He controlled the budget. Every single purchase had to be approved by him. He'd say, "Just tell me what you need so I can track our spending." Felt like I was asking for permission to live. I remember the day I got my own credit card. I'd been wanting to take a course to get certified in my field, and the cost was too high for me to justify with our budget. I was so excited. It was mine. My name was on it. I didn't tell him. I was scared to, so I used it a few times for small things. Gas, groceries, a new sweater I desperately needed, and I paid it off every month with my secret cash stash from work. It was my tiny rebellion. He found the statement. It was a Tuesday. I remember the look on his face when I got home. Not angry, not loud, just disappointed, like I had betrayed our team. He held up the paper and asked, "What is this?" I tried to explain. "It's for my course, and I've been paying it off." He cut me off. "You have no reason to be hiding things from me. Don't you trust us?" He made me feel like I was the bad guy, like I was the one who had broken our trust. He didn't yell. He just took the card, cut it into tiny little pieces right in front of me, and told me, "We'll be a team again. We'll get through this." And that was it. Just like that, my little piece of freedom was gone. That's the thing about financial abuse. It's not just about the money. It's about being denied the right to make your own choices. It's about losing your independence, one tiny piece of plastic at a time. But I learned something from it. Now I have my own accounts, my own credit cards, and I get to choose what I do with them. The first time he hit me, he cried harder than I did, said it was an accident, said I made him angry, but he was sorry, and I believed him. I always believed him. The next time he apologized with flowers, then a weekend trip, then a ring. We weren't even engaged, but he said he wanted me forever. And after every slap, every shove, he swore he was trying, swore he loved me. When I finally called the police, I was bleeding from my mouth, my ear ringing, my hand trembling over the phone. I remember whispering, "Please come, he's not stopping." They came. He lied. I cried. And they left. Said there was no evidence. Said maybe it was a domestic dispute. He stood behind them, smirking. That was the night I knew I was alone. For months, I didn't try again. I shut down, got quiet, planned my escape in secret. But before I could leave, he pushed me down the stairs. 3 fractured ribs, 1 cracked jaw, and this time, finally, the police believed me. He was arrested. Neighbors gave statements. My hospital photos told the story I never could. But I was already ruined. Because the truth is, I should have reported him the first time. I should have screamed louder, pressed charges, left at the first bruise. But I didn't, and I nearly died for it. They say I'm strong, that I survived. But most days, I don't feel strong. I feel haunted by the version of me who stayed too long, by the woman I used to be, and the girl who thought love could be proven by pain. Now I speak out for her, for the women still whispering in bathrooms, hiding bruises under makeup, telling themselves, "He's just under pressure," or "He won't do it again." He will. And worse, don't wait for the police to believe you. Believe yourself first, and run. I didn't marry a monster. I married a man who pretended to love me just enough to keep me blind. He knew exactly what to say, exactly how to hold me, how to manipulate me. And I, like a fool, thought I was safe, cooked, cleaned. I bent over backwards trying to be a good wife. I defended him. I covered for him. I made excuses when he didn't come home for days. But he didn't want a partner. He wanted control. He wanted someone to belittle, to boss around, to mold into a submissive little echo of himself. And for a while, I let him guilt me into silence. I let him talk to me like I was nothing. "You're lucky I even married you," he once said. That line stayed with me, not because it hurt, but because, for a second, I believed him. That's the scariest part. How easy it is to lose yourself when someone chips away at you every single day. I wasn't allowed to speak my mind. I wasn't allowed to wear certain things, go certain places, or even breathe too loudly when he was in a mood. And God forbid I asked for anything, affection, attention, help. He'd laugh in my face, call me needy, dramatic, spoiled. Meanwhile, I was the one keeping our life together, paying bills, holding the house down, carrying his damn ego like it was sacred. And what did I get in return? Cold silence, public humiliation, gaslighting so twisted I started questioning my own sanity. He'd lie, then make me apologize for catching him. He'd flirt in front of me, then say I was insecure. I was called crazy so many times, I nearly believed it, until one day I didn't. One day, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a broken woman anymore. I saw rage, years of swallowed screams, of nights crying silently next to a man who couldn't care less if I lived or died. And I snapped, not with violence but with silence. The kind of silence that packs a suitcase, that takes the keys, that leaves the house spotless, but empty. I didn't leave a note. I didn't say goodbye. I owed him nothing, because he didn't love me. He just loved having power over me. But here's the thing about women like me. You can break our hearts, humiliate us, exhaust us, but you can't kill our fire. I'm done being quiet. I'm done protecting his image. This is my story now. And if he hears this, just know, you didn't lose me because I was hard to love. You lost me because you thought I'd never leave. When people talk about abuse, they think of bruises, broken bones, screaming matches. But my story didn't look like that. My story started with flowers, with good morning texts, with soft words and long phone calls that made me feel like the luckiest girl alive. He was charming, polite. Everyone said I had found a good man, and for a while I believed them. But things changed after the wedding. Not all at once, slowly, like poison in water. He started by criticizing little things, the way I dressed, the way I talked, the way I laughed too loud. I laughed less. Then it became my friends. "Why do you need them so much? I'm your husband now." So I stopped seeing them. And then, my dreams. "You're always chasing something. Be content. Stay home." I gave up job offers. I silenced parts of myself, because I thought that's what being a good wife meant. But it was never enough. He'd give me the silent treatment for days, blame me for things I didn't do, twist my words until I couldn't even trust my own memory. He once said, "You're too sensitive. No man will ever put up with you but me." And I believed him. I remember sitting in the bathroom one night, the door locked, crying quietly because I didn't want him to hear. Not because I was scared he'd hit me, but because I was scared he'd mock me for being weak. You see, abuse doesn't always leave bruises. Sometimes it leaves you questioning if you even have the right to feel hurt. My family didn't see it. My friends thought we were private. Online, we looked like a happy couple. In reality, I was slowly disappearing. I became a woman who flinched at kindness, who apologized when someone else bumped into her, who forgot how to speak up, or even speak at all. And the scariest part is I almost stayed, because I thought maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was broken. Maybe love was supposed to hurt this much. But one day, I looked at an old picture of myself. I was smiling, confident, eyes full of light, and I didn't recognize her. That's when I knew. I had traded my freedom for a cage wrapped in wedding rings and silence. So I left, not with a bang, not with drama. I just left with a suitcase and a whisper in my chest that said, "You deserve to be whole again." And now, every day I rebuild. I still have scars, but they're mine. And for the first time in a long time, I'm free. You think when the cops show up, they'll save you. That the moment they see the blood, the bruises, they'll know who the real victim is. I thought that too. That night, he had me pinned against the kitchen tiles, his hand over my mouth, knees pressing into my ribs so I couldn't scream. All because I asked if he was texting his ex again. I don't even remember hitting the floor, just the ringing in my ears, the way the ceiling fan spun while I gasped for air. But I managed to grab my phone, dialed 911 with shaking fingers. I didn't even say a word, just left the line open. When they arrived, I was bleeding. He had a scratch on his face. From me trying to get him off, they pulled us apart, asked him questions. He sobbed, said, "She's unstable," said, "She's been violent for months." And you know what? They believed him because he was calm, because he wore a clean shirt, because he knew how to play the victim better than I knew how to survive. I was cuffed on my own porch, thrown into the back seat while he stood there, pretending to be heartbroken. I spent the night in a cell. No shoelaces, no dignity, no one to call. I kept thinking, this has to be a mistake. Someone will fix this. No one did. The charges were dropped eventually. He didn't show up to court. Typical. Cowardly. But the damage was done. Mugshot online. Landlord evicted me 2 weeks later. My job stopped scheduling me. All because he hit me and cried better. So when people say, "Why didn't you leave sooner?" I just smile. Because sometimes even when you do leave, you still lose everything. But I'm building it back now. No more silence. No more pretending. This is my story, and I own every broken piece of it. Everyone kept saying, "Why didn't you leave?" But no one ever asked, "Why did he hurt you?" They called me stupid, said I was desperate, but I wasn't weak. I was hopeful. I thought I could fix him. When we met, he was charming. Damaged, yes, but open. Told me about his trauma. Cried in my arms. Made me feel chosen. And then slowly he broke me. He'd say things like, "You're lucky I'm still here." Or, "Maybe I should cheat. That'd teach you to act right." Once, he locked me out in the rain because I answered a male coworker's text. Just okay. Noted. That was the text. He said I disrespected him. I stood outside for 3 hours, begging, crying, still defending him. Years later, I look back and wonder who that woman was. Why she didn't scream. Why she didn't run. But I remember now, she thought love meant fixing the broken. She thought staying proved loyalty. She thought pain was part of passion. She thought wrong. I escaped, barely. But sometimes, in my quietest moments, I wonder, what if I never left? Would I even be alive? I used to have a calendar on my fridge that was so full you could barely see the days. Every square was scribbled with plans. Lunch with Sarah. Movie night with Jessica. Dinner with my family. My life was a beautiful, chaotic tangle of people and plans, and I loved it. I was connected. Then he came along. First, he loved my friends. He'd laugh at my stories about them. He'd join us for dinners. He made me feel like he was part of my world, and that was the most wonderful feeling. The changes started slowly, insidiously. I'd mention having lunch with my friend, and he'd sigh, "Are you sure she's a good influence? I just worry about you." I tell him my family was having a barbecue and he'd say, "You know how your uncle is. He's so critical. I just don't want you to get upset." It was never a command. It was always framed as concern. He was looking out for me, he said. He was trying to protect me from the people who didn't have my best interests at heart. I started making excuses. I text my friends that I was busy or feeling unwell. It was easier than dealing with his disapproval, easier than the tension that would fill the room every time I mentioned someone else. My friends would stop inviting me out. They assumed I was happy in my new relationship, too busy with my new life. In a way, I wanted them to believe that because the alternative was a confession I wasn't ready to make. My full calendar became a ghost town. My phone calls became fewer and fewer. My friends stopped calling because I'd stopped answering. My family started to complain that I was a stranger. And then I was alone, just me and him. He had become my entire world. He was my best friend, my confidant, my family. And that's what he wanted. He didn't want to share me with anyone. My universe had shrunk to the four walls of our home and the four corners of his opinion. The loneliest I ever felt was sitting on the couch next to him, with a phone that hadn't rung in weeks. The silence was deafening. He had convinced me that everyone else was a problem. And with them gone, he was the only solution. The breaking point was a terrible day. I had lost my job and I was in a panic. I needed to talk to my mom, to my best friend, to anyone who could give me a hug and tell me it would be okay. But I couldn't. I scrolled through my phone, my fingers hovering over names I hadn't spoken to in years. The shame was overwhelming. I had nothing. I had no one. It wasn't until I was finally out of that relationship that I realized what had happened. He hadn't just taken me away from my friends and family. He had taken them away from me, piece by piece, and left me with nothing but him. Now, my calendar is filling up again. Slowly, painfully, but it's filling with people who love me, and with a life that is my own.